Fast. Why are you wearing glasses? Have you smoked a joint today?
Not me.
Not me.
Okay, welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold Movie Podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the 1990 psychological thriller Jacob's Ladder. The format of our podcast: two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-hosts to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. With me today is my Gen X co-host, Matthew Stockton.
Hello.
Representing the millennials today, we have musician Clef Seeley.
Hi, hi.
We also have Anthony to help us unravel this psychological thriller.
Ravel me back up.
Before we get into this episode, just a reminder that the only way we can grow this podcast is with support from our listeners. So please remember to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, and please recommend us to a friend to help us build our audience.
Nice.
Today's movie is the 1990 movie Jacob's Ladder, starring Tim Robbins and directed by Olen. Adrian is no slouch, having directed Flashdance, 9.5 Weeks, and Fatal Attraction before this movie, and Unfaithful and Indecent Proposal after this. So he knows the psychological thriller genre. The tagline from the movie poster is, "The most frightening thing about Jacob Singer's nightmare is that he isn't dreaming." And having just watched this movie, I can tell you that doesn't help at all.
No, that's kind of misleading.
IMDb describes this movie as, mourning his dead son, a haunted Vietnam veteran attempts to uncover his past while suffering from a severe case of disassociation. To do so, he must decipher reality and life from his own dreams, delusions, and perceptions of death. Except that he's dead. Well, we'll sort this one out, but for those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 93-year-old dad, so by now, he's had a birthday. I have to now say 93. Still cranking out movie plots. I asked my 93-year-old dad, Peter, not Hank Matthew, to watch Jacob's Ladder and summarize the plot.
I called him Hank in the last episode.
It's close.
I suspect this isn't going to help anybody, but let's play it.
Jacob's Ladder begins with a group of soldiers. They are joking with one another and they're eating and commenting on some of the food that's dropped off by the US supply helicopters. They call it strong shit. And this makes you wonder why. Okay, then all hell breaks loose. And at this point, we're not sure of the outcome, but the soldiers are so confused and they are probably hallucinating, they're panicking, they're falling all over one another and they start shooting. But probably they shoot one another to some extent. You'll find that out later. We have to see first the rest. Jake, sitting on a subway train. There's a great scene. He gets confused. He sees a woman with a strange, distorted face. Then he jumps out of the train and he ends up on the track. He see all kinds of distorted faces. And this rankles him, so he decides that he wants to see a doctor at a mental health hospital because he's seeing horrific images. Okay, but he has a chiropractor, Louis, who he considers an angel. He goes to him, he sort of calms him down, and next he discovers that there's a group of survivors who want to take legal action against the US Army, and they suspect that something happened. So Jake, after he has met with these people, he is kidnapped, put in a hospital, and he is told he's dead. So now we have to think, is he dead, is he not? So the chiropractor, Louis, rescues him, and then a chemist, Michael Newman, appears and he confesses the work on aggressive chemical warfare and that a dose was given secretly to the platoon. And in his vision, Jake sees all of a sudden that one of his platoon buddies actually killed him. Okay, he is satisfied that he is dead, so he goes home and he's welcomed by the concierge who calls him Dr. Singer, so now you know. And he walks in, he calls Sarah, his wife, who isn't there, and then Gabe, his dead son, leads him upstairs, and that is probably symbolic.
Definitely symbolic. So before I ask you guys your reaction, I just want to say this movie stunned me in multiple ways. One of the ways is that this is my dad's and my mom's favorite movie of the 40 that we've made them watch. And
Have we watched 40 movies?
Yeah, we're at 40 now. But by the time we bank this will be episode 40, even though we're recording a few weeks ahead. He called it a damn good film, and he's been talking about it for hours, both of them. When I told him about this project, I said, don't let Mom watch this because it's disturbing. And he not only let her watch it, but she absolutely loved it. So that's, I don't know what that tells us.
They're both deeply disturbed.
Yeah, no, they're traumatized by war, so they clearly
They understand it.
Yeah, it's deep inside them. It doesn't disturb them.
Well, you guys go first because I got a lot to say about my reaction to this movie.
I liked it. No, that's all I have to say. Go ahead. I'll say more, but go ahead.
Mine's short and sweet. I fucking despised it. I thought it was probably the worst movie I've ever seen. At least in this podcast for sure. I'm sure it has something to do with the sleep deprivation I'm currently under, but there were...
Yep.
I had one note. I just had to stop after a while and put the phone down. My one note was that a penis or a tail? And,
Well, now I got my cold open for the episode. Thank you. Okay, Matthew, I'll go. I don't even know where Matthew's going to land on this. So I did see this movie in the theater. I didn't really remember what it was about. I wasn't sure what we were into. I thought it would be an interesting conversation. And then when I watched it and I thought it was interesting. I'm not 100% sure what I thought. And then I slept on it. And then I talked a little bit about it with Kim, who watched it with me. And my conclusion is I love this film. I think it's brilliant. I really do. But it took a lot of reflection. And Matthew, I'm sure you got it faster. I felt a little dumb after I watched it. But then when I kind of put it all together, I'm like, yeah, I get it. And it was well done.
I also had to sleep on it. Yeah.
I didn't, immediately after it, I had the same reaction as Videodrome after I just finished watching it. I'm like, okay, some funky stuff to look at and kind of weird and heady. But then after I thought about it, I'm like, actually, it's a very logical story pieced together, well told.
So when I started watching this, for some reason, I'd mix this movie up with Lorenzo's Oil. So I was sitting down. Expecting that I was going.
Is that your brand of lube, by the way?
I was sitting down expecting to watch like somebody trying to save their kid's life, and was like completely okay. We're in Vietnam. No, I got the wrong movie. So I have to be honest. I am the most torn with this movie than any of the movies we've watched.
Controversy.
Sometimes I love it, and sometimes I just don't. Right, and I think that how do I put this without sounding like a snob?
You can't. Just go for it.
I think Jacob's Ladder's trying really hard to be deep, but it doesn't quite land it.
thank you.
I think it sort of that it throws around a lot of existential philosophy and surreal imagery at the audience in hopes of being like profound. But under the surface, it doesn't really say much that hasn't been explored elsewhere in better ways.
It is definitely, like, as a film, I would describe it as more aesthetically interesting to me than maybe, like, having some sort of story or having some sort of, the dialogue in and of itself was not what I found interesting. I really found it as, like, a story piece. It's like going down a slide or like going on a roller coaster or something. It's like it started in one place and then you get taken through this story arc that I agree with you, Olen. Like, if I think back to, like, as I was watching it, I was thinking, like, this is very bizarre. Like, none of it feels real. I feel like he must be dead, or he must be, like, there must be something about him. There's some kind of ending to this that makes it all lock together. And at the end, the fact that he was dead, I did feel like maybe it was a bit of a cop-out, but also, there are so many other ways it could have ended where it still would have had that same cohesiveness throughout of being like a weird story that picks up and is down. It's very anthological. I found it interesting, and then at the end it had the quote about the drugs being used on the Vietnam vets. And I thought, okay, so it's just like a story about what that would be like to be like to have that experience, maybe.
But
and I thought, okay,
yeah, I find, like, I agree with you. The film was visually striking, and Tim Robbins did a really good job. So he was kind of like Bull Durham. Before this, he's Bull Durham. He was mostly comedy. He did a really good job acting, right? It's an emotionally raw performance. So his performance is really good in this film. But I don't think Robbins can't even make up for the fact that the movie spends more time being vague and mysterious than delivering anything that's truly meaningful to me. I think it's a lot of atmosphere and little substance, and I actually find the twists at the end kind of, by the time you get there, it feels predictable and unearned.
Okay.
And
I did figure it out halfway through.
Yeah,
I
I did not. I didn't figure it out till the next day, to be honest. Like, I mean, I assembled this crew for this podcast for a reason. You guys all have a great ability to look a little deeper at some of these movies that I sometimes aren't. I'm not that able to go that deep. But for this one, this to me was like Sixth Sense. So before Sixth Sense existed, and I was lucky enough to see Sixth Sense without knowing what the ending was. And then when you get to the end and you realize he's dead and you go back and look at all the clues that were there that you missed, this was exactly the same for me. I did not know he was dead until the last scene. And even then I'm like, was he? Like, was this an LSD trip? Is he high? Is this really happening? Is he paranoid? And so not knowing the ending actually made it very enjoyable for me. And then reflecting on it.
I agree. I think the thing that pissed me off the most about this movie was I totally get it, like the beginning to end, he's dead, he's experiencing all these, everything going on in his head. I just found the whole process they took to get me there was so convoluted and confusing,
it was very meandering.
But
yes, it was like
they could have told that story so much better, I thought, and I don't know, just very confusing to me.
So if
it was very disjointed.
If the line in Sixth Sense is "I see dead people," this one is "I am dead people."
Yeah.
I think that's it's really interesting. If you look when the movie opens, there's some interesting stuff they did. Like, so for example, he's in Vietnam and suddenly he's in a liminal space. He's in a subway, right? If you look at that, what's a subway? It's a space between two places. You're traveling. So he actually comes out of Vietnam, and the first place we see him is in this liminal space, which is kind of a cool way of saying, hey, he's kind of in this weird purgatory, right? But he's reading The Stranger by Albert Camus. Did you guys notice the book he was reading?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't,
yeah.
but my dad did. He pointed it out to me.
Oh, did he? Okay. So and L'Étranger, The Stranger by Camus, it's actually, that book explores alienation, the search for meaning, the inevitability of death. So if you know anything about that book and you're like, okay, this is interesting, right? So, but to be honest, I think I'd rather read The Stranger than see this film again. I mean, it's an okay film and there's a lot of good things about it, but it didn't quite hit. And I also like the character by, what's his name? Danny Aiello.
Danny Aiello. Oh my God.
So
good.
Yeah.
So he acts as a psychopomp. Do you guys know what a psychopomp is? So in mythology, if you think of like Hermes psychopomp, it's like a guide to the afterlife, right? So he's kind of an angel or guide to afterlife, and I like his character. I liked his character a lot.
I liked his character too, and that's I think that's an important piece about the aesthetic of like the story of the movie, because it's like he's in Vietnam and then he gets dropped into the subway and then he's in this world. He's in Brooklyn. He's in New York City. He's a postal worker. You finding out little details, little fragments along the way about his life. Oh, he had this former life. He had this wife and this family, and his kid died. Like, what the fuck? That sounds like a lot of crazy shit happened to this guy. Who is this guy? Who's got the weird hair and the glasses, and he's taller than everybody. And then he's going to these weird parties and like.
You just described my life, by the way.
Well, maybe that's why you liked it so much.
And yeah, and I like Louis's role, right? Because it's actually, when you look at the film again, you realize slowly nudging him, like softly nudging him towards acceptance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he doesn't say, dude, you're fucking dead. He's like slowly trying to get him there, like gingerly, right? Which is quite nice.
Because he has
Quite
to
nice.
get there himself.
And the dead kid, was that what's his face?
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the
Yeah.
trivia on that right now. So this is the same year that what was his movie?
Home Alone?
Home Alone. This is the same year that Home Alone came out. After being in this film, his dad requested
Fucking
that his
weird.
name be scrubbed from the cast because he thought
Yeah.
it was going to ruin his career.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird movie, and it's like he was going for that other thing, you know? But no, I think it's weird. I think it adds to it.
It's a weird movie, but he didn't act back badly in it. He was,
Oh, it's probably one of his
fine.
better performances of his career, I'd say.
I just want to say, about the structure of this
kid.
movie, because Anthony, you're saying that it's all over, but one thing I really liked about it is it was friggin' all over, and then I enjoyed the journey once I figured it out of going back and seeing what all those steps were about.
Yeah.
Like he got a girlfriend named Jezebel. And I'm like, what kind of asshole names his
Jezebel.
daughter Jezebel? That's not very,
Yeah,
that's not
look at
giving
that
him a good
too.
start in life. And
Yeah.
This is my daughter, Jez.
Yeah.
Jezebel. And this is my
Exactly,
daughter.
Jezebel.
yeah,
My hot seductress.
This is my daughter, Jez, and my son, Jiz.
and their sister, Dirty Whore.
See, Olen,
Sorry, I needed to get that out.
to me, this is one of those movies. Maybe it's just me personally, but you gotta watch it like 2 or 3 times to really pick up all these things. And I don't like a movie that I have to sit down afterwards and like piece things together to make it make sense to me.
Fair enough. For me, I tend to not pick things up, so I'm just kind of flying through it, you know, like.
That's why we love you,
like,
Clef.
so-
That's why I felt
I'm
stupid
the
during it.
opposite. I'm always whenever I watch a movie, I literally like analyze shit. It's just the way my brain works, right? Yeah. I analyze everything. Like when there's a book, I'm like looking at the book. I don't know. It's kind of what I do.
I sometimes make fun of my dad. But on this one, honestly, I'll tell you another experience I had with this movie is I recorded his summary, and he goes a little bit long. I get him down to 2 minutes for you guys, but he usually is about 6-8 minutes, something like that. I don't listen when he records them. Like I say go, and then I kind of tune out. I watched the movie, and then I went and did the edit of his, and there's so much stuff in his review of the movie that I'm like, oh, I didn't even catch that. Like, the guy's sharp for 93.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
sharper than you at 67 or how old you are.
Yeah.
So the
Same age as you. So whatever number you want to put on that, Matthew.
I want to talk about the Vietnam War angle.
Please.
I think that he's a soldier and he's actually dying, right? So that's good. But I really think that this complex subplot of the ladder and the drug experiment called the ladder felt underdeveloped and cheap.
Yeah,
I don't think
it did.
And adds this lazy conspiratorial layer to a film that's already juggling too many ideas. I don't think the whole ladder and chemical thing was needed at all. I think they could have just plucked that out, got rid of it, and then that cheesy sort of last slate at the end going, Vietnam, they tested it. It's like, that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about accepting death, right? Mm-hmm. And so the whole ladder thing with the chemicals and everything, it was completely and utterly unnecessary, and just added to complexity for people like Olen, who had enough to figure out.
Yeah, I think you can definitely.
Sorry, buddy. I love you.
You can definitely justify that whole experience just off brain chemistry from death, I think.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
what's interesting. I
Absolutely.
honestly mistook a lot of this along the way for just drugs. I was madly writing a lot of notes like, Matthew, what's LSD like? Matthew, what's cocaine like? Like, which drug is this that's doing this to him? And no, it's his own brain.
It's DMT.
It's his own dead
And I was
brain.
thinking
This
like,
drug
this is a
is This drug is ketamine. Actually, this movie is ketamine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ketamine. I thought
Noted.
this. Yeah. I was thinking like this is bad PTSD sort of depiction, kind of
Yes,
midway
totally.
through. I was like, this is kind of a weak sort of 2D stereotypical. Oh, he's in the hospital, and they're like, oh, you're already dead, and it's like this is kind of fear. This is kind of fear edge piece, right? They're doing this just to kind of shock and make me go whoa, but. At the end that he's dead, it's like, okay, he went through this whole journey, this whole nightmarish journey. And it's like, okay, sure, I'll give it to them. But it did make me go and look up like the alternate endings. And I was reading a little bit about some of the different alternate endings that they had tried. Because I guess the movie was like much longer at one point.
Oh, is that possible?
And that they that's what I was thinking too. I was like, this movie was 2.5 hours when they sent it to test audiences, but yeah,
Anthony,
no, they
did you
tried
watch
a couple
this
different things.
like completely sober? No chemicals.
I
That's
swear,
the mistake. I forgot to send that out in the instructions with this film.
I feel like I would have done a lot better with some edibles, but
Take
because
take
of
a little ketamine and
it's
then
the
watch
baby. It was the sleep deprivation. That was more than
The
enough.
Sleep deprivation. Yeah, this movie was a lot.
Couple of things to get out of the way first. Matthew, for people that don't know, tell them what a Jacob's ladder is, because I had to look it up.
Sounds like a sex swing.
And you use Lorenzo's oil with it.
Do you want something really culturally interesting? I've always been fascinated. Straight people call them sex swings, and gays call them slings.
Oh,
They're gonna say
Yeah.
beds.
sling
No,
is
a
a
gay-
faster, easier way to put that.
A gay guy would never call it a sex swing, but it's all the straights always call it a sex swing. So
I knew this would come up.
Jacob's ladder is from the Bible, of course, specifically Genesis 28:10-19. Olen, since you asked, and
Someone did
it's
his research.
In a dream, Jacob had a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, and the angels would ascend and descend on it. And the vision is supposed to symbolize the connection between the divine and humanity. So there you go, Olen.
That's much more than I expected. Correct.
I feel like they could have done a little bit more, not religious, but kind of lean into that more. Maybe they did. And I
Yeah.
just didn't see it.
There's also a fitness equipment, Jacob's Ladder, a brand that is supposed to that you climb for a full body workout. And in physics and science, Jacob's Ladders in science refers to a high voltage device where an electric arc travels
I can
between
see you
two
reading.
connecting
You
rods.
can see you reading.
Yeah, I had looked this up because I knew Owen
yeah.
asked, like I knew the biblical one. I knew the biblical one because like we all know it. But I thought, hey, other
right.
things. But the science one is really cool. And when you have the two rods and you see that electric current between the two, they call that a Jacob's ladder as well, which is awesome.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Other thing I
Sorry
found
to cut you
interesting is from reading a bunch of fan stuff on this that the subgenre of this movie is called rubber reality.
Rubber reality.
Use that with some Lorenzo's oil.
They call this one of the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
rubber.
Make it more watchable.
I prefer my porn to be raw reality. Bareback reality.
Reality.
I knew this episode would be interesting. I did not expect as much lube and sex swing talk as we
Is
got.
that a
Oh,
tentacle
you're gonna-
or a penis?
You're gonna have to edit some of this for radio, Olen.
Yes. Our Disney distribution is at risk right now. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. Do you think it's funny that depicting life in purgatory as being a postman? How do you think mailmen feel about that? Like
That is actual brilliance. It's actual brilliance, right?
I
thought-
because if you think about it,
until you said that.
I think
That's
about it
hilarious.
again. They live in a
genius.
liminal space. Like somebody wrote a
Yeah.
letter, somebody's going to receive a letter.
very-
They are this space between two things. It's actually
And I was
really
also-
smart. Yeah.
Also, I was thinking the whole movie, like, why was he on the subway at like 3:30 in the morning or whatever? Like, why did he fall asleep for 4 hours or like, what? Like he wouldn't have been mailing. He wouldn't have been mailing at night.
what kind of deliveries is he making? I think more Lorenzo's
Exactly.
oil.
Isn't it funny,
Like, I was
Olen?
thinking about that the whole movie. Like,
I did not expect to have tears of laughter in this episode. Matthew, technical question: do New York subways close?
Yeah, I think they do. They used to. In the 80s, they did.
I don't know why that detail jarred me. And this guy, okay, I know he's dead, so I guess we'll cut him some slack. I now know he's dead now, but he's a terrible swerver. Like when you're getting out of the way of the train, he's just like left, right. No, just pick one.
Yeah.
He's like a squirrel.
Like a squirrel. And he did the same with the car that was trying to run him down.
Yeah, he
Like
did.
just pick a side and get out of the way. Like zigzagging right down the middle of the tracks is not a good avoidance. Okay.
I guess that's
So,
how he got bayoneted too, right? You know, just not a good
So,
soldier.
Olen, just so you know, I was wrong. So the subway doesn't fully close; it operates 24/7. But there are sometimes station closures or parts of it close. But supposedly, it's running 24/7.
Yeah, I think you're asking for trouble if you lock subway stations and don't check that there's not people getting off still.
That's problematic. You know, my husband was really drunk once and in London and woke up in a double-decker bus in the compound where they park them, and he had to open the door of the bus and climb a fence and to get out. Drunk at like 4 a.m. That was so funny.
It's impressive. He just
But you'd
blended
often-
right in.
You'd often see people like really late at night, like on the Piccadilly line. You'd see people like suddenly wake up and go, "Where are we? Where are we?" And they like miss like 10 stops, or often at the end of the line, like the Uxbridge station, people like they go through and wake people up who are completely pissed and fell asleep, and they have to like find money to take a taxi home. Makes me laugh. Losers.
Okay, I have another technical question now. Anthony, is it normal to take your shirt off at the chiropractor?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I can't remember the last
Is
time
it?
I've gone. I'd say it's more normal than taking your pants off.
Oh, did I ever tell you guys? I once went to like a local. I once went to a local massage place because my back was sore in like suburban London in the UK. So I'm like on the table, and she tries to give me a handy.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And it was like a front. I thought it was like a real massage place.
What's the address?
I thought it was a real massage place. And like, mind you, if it was a boy, maybe I would have gone for it. But no. Yeah. Anyway. It was quite shocking.
That's
You know,
jarring.
when you
can
think,
imagine.
like, all I wanted to do, I was so tense. All I wanted to do was relax. And I end up like freaking out and having to leave. Like even more tense.
Just trying to help you, Matthew. You can feel the tension in the air.
It was gross.
Okay, more questions. Do you guys think this inspired The Sixth Sense?
It could have.
I mean, I
No.
thought that movie was so
I mean-
original when I saw it, but rewatching this, I'm like, oh, it's very similar.
Is it a genre setter? What kind of movie?
Well, what I read online from a bunch of the fans, who knows if it's true, but they say it's a genre setter, like the Rubber Reality. Now you get into
Right.
the Inceptions and the Sixth Sense and all of these movies
Sure.
that people are loving. They think this is one of the first.
I did kind of think jokingly to myself last night that it is like a mix of Inception and Sixth Sense
Yeah,
in a way.
I think they must have been inspired, at least to a certain level. I wrote down here, top sign you're crazy is that the psychiatrist you've been seeing doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sign.
That's a good line.
They did that a few times, and I was like, oh, he's just genuinely crazy. He's lost his mind. He doesn't exist. They don't exist.
Yeah.
All these little things don't exist.
Oh, and that in that scene, that freaky like tooth in the nurse's head. Oh God.
Yeah, they needed way more stuff like that. It was very sporadic, and for a 2-hour movie, it was very sporadic, I thought. It scared me
I
a little
couldn't
bit more.
conceive that he had a girlfriend that hot. He had
Yeah,
such
it was
a
a head
hot
case, so-
girlfriend. Yeah, no, definitely a head case, but I mean that's the trade-off, right?
And fever scene. Now I know he was dead, so none of this is real. But the fever scene, I did wonder while we were doing it, like, why did you rip through 50 pounds of ice and not just call an ambulance?
Because he's gonna die on the way to the hospital. What?
Yeah, well, then it had to happen right away.
So, a little trivia about our own cast here is that, Anthony, I heard from your mom that that happened exactly to you at 2 years old.
I have heard that story.
That explains it.
I'm always cold, guys.
Everyone suspects a little too late she got you into the tub.
I was in the pool.
Ice maker was broken.
Brain fried.
Yeah. Yeah, it does explain quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, this is your brain on ice.
And as I went back through the movie, there's lots of stuff that I started to figure out once I understood it. But one thing I didn't get is, why was everyone blowing up? Like the explosions.
Yes.
The car explosion, the doctor explosion. Like, this seems like a simple way to exit a character. Like, too simple.
That's what I thought too. It was very. It was very. I thought people were getting assassinated, but they wouldn't all just keep blown up. And then I was like, oh, it's just a way to write them out. Just kind of, oh, they're out of your mental
it's
story.
Conspiracy aesthetic. It's conspiracy aesthetic.
Okay, I want to
kill somebody.
True.
I want to talk about some of the best parts. I had, first of all, Danny Aiello. His performance was just so good. And that scene where he's breaking him out of the psych hospital.
Yeah.
So good. I had the blank-faced demons. Like, I just thought the demons were so effective because they were really understated. Like, not big horns and sharp teeth, just these creepy blank faces.
Yeah.
I had Anthony, Hungry Man Dinners.
They're good.
That's what his girlfriend made for him for dinner. Hungry Man Dinner. I'm like, oh, I want one of those right now.
She was kind of maternal, but not very.
Olan, do you remember? A sandwich is a sandwich, but a manwich is a meal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, manwich is awesome.
Manwich.
But as soon as she said Hungry Man Dinner, I'm like, yeah, I want that apple cobbler.
Oh, gross.
Give me the Salisbury steak, please.
Yeah, but see, the part of it would never, like, you'd put it in the oven and one part would still be frozen, right?
Oh, yeah, you got to get it all molten, then let it cool for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, Matthew, what do you think about this for best part? Having a friend to talk to. I love that scene with the soldier that was also seeing demons in the bar, and he's talking to his friend, and that guy just seemed so torn up. It was, I thought, a very effective scene.
Everyone needs a friend to talk to.
Crazy darting eyes.
Yeah.
He had those crazy darting eyes.
He had crazy eyes, yeah.
He had super crazy eyes. That's a weird thing to be able to do, like, for acting, like, to be able to make your eyes do that.
Was it acting?
Well, maybe not. I had, from the party scene, I had to look up because I didn't realize that Lady Marmalade was, because I was like, oh, Lady Marmalade's playing, but isn't it, like, what year is this right now? Like, isn't this movie, like, supposed to be taking place in the 70s or something? So I had to look it up and found out that the original version of Lady Marmalade came out in 1974 and that it was, like, a huge hit in, like, 1974, 75, and that was what had made it a good song for that party, I guess. Good party, you know, to grind on a monster.
I like that.
Grind
that
on a big tentacle monster.
You know, between this and First Blood that we just did recently, like, we're really digging into the era. It was an interesting time in history, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. A lot happened. Wasn't there, but...
I agree with Eric. I think that scene was probably one of my favorites. The Danny Aiello's character. I loved him. I thought he was the best piece of this movie. Wish there was more of him. And
yeah, I agree.
Of course, the penis tail. Those are my top three.
I really liked at that party when he got his palm read and he was like getting all flirty with the palm reader, and then she said, "That's interesting. According to this, you're already dead." And I just thought at the time, like, oh, what a weird sort of thing to just hear at a party.
They were spoon feeding, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, they were spoon feeding and I didn't get it, and I was like, oh, I got played. I like it.
Yeah. Me too. I had the same reaction.
It thrilled me.
Psychologically.
Psychologically.
Okay, I'm moving to worst parts next. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on best?
Well, I'll segue this. That the scene with the music and the dancing and all the demons, whatever. I thought that was one of my favorite scenes and also one of my least favorite scenes because it was done so well in relation to the rest of the movie that I kept waiting for more scenes like that, and it just never came.
It's interesting because if I'm talking about best
That's a good
scenes,
point.
I think definitely the Danny Aiello speech, and I've got it in best line, his whole full quote, because I think that's the quote of the movie. And I thought the psych ward too. The other thing that was a visceral reaction for me is looking at the psych ward, and I believe they weren't exactly like that, but psych wards were nasty places, like even 40, 50 years ago. You know, they weren't kind to the patients, and it's just such a troubling setting. And then throw a few body parts in the hallway, and it's even worse. That was so effective for me.
Very much so. And even the first scene when he goes to the doctor and the doctor's not the doctor anymore, and that like all of that. I thought that was a weird scene too. I just thought like the acting in that scene the dialogue in that scene seemed to me so bizarre. Like, but it was just so much of that in the movie, like parts where it's like, oh, he's in this kind of dreamscape. He's in his bedroom with this beautiful woman, and he's having this like very romantic conversation. And then suddenly, like a secretary is yelling at him, "I haven't even had my lunch yet." And then, like, you know, like I just thought it was interesting cuts.
It's really weird, yeah. Anthony, since you segued from best to worst parts, your best part I have on my worst. I had Demon Wiener as worst part. I don't like looking at Demon Dick.
Regular dick will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too specific.
So a couple things I had on worst part. How about being robbed by Santa?
Oh, amazing.
We've all been there.
Yes, we have.
I think the worst, some of the worst parts for me was, I think it was kind of they could have done a better job of not having such a confusing and disjointed narrative. Like I get that there's this life death thing, but they could have made it flow a little bit better, and I think by grounding a little bit more into Jacob's psyche earlier on, like you don't know who he is before it even starts, right?
Yeah.
So I think understanding who he was more before it starts would have been better.
There was a lot of jumping around in time. That is true.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Pena, she does a good job as Jezebel, but there wasn't a lot of depth or layers to that part of the relationship or the story, right?
What was his PhD in?
And I think the gurney
Demon
sequence. I think the gurney sequence, that climactic hospital scene, feels drawn out, and then finally, I think that his acceptance of death right at the end so quickly was a little bit too fast.
I agree with that.
If I found out I was dead, I think I'd hum and haw a little bit before going, okay. Right?
I'd play around with it a bit. I'd be like, I'm going to try and jump off a building and see what happens. Like, I would do some of that stuff. I'd Groundhog Day it.
Yeah, Groundhog Day shit.
I do agree, Matthew. I like I said before, the middle was very drawn out and lengthy, whatever. But the ending, it actually made me kind of sad when I realized what was happening. When he's talking to the son, and then they realize that he's on the gurney and he's dead. They could have made that, of your whole 2 hours, make that 20 minutes. Why is it 5 minutes at the end when I'm already psychologically drained from this thing?
Yeah.
Lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah, it was abrupt. It was like, okay, you don't get it yet. I'm just going to tell you. He's dead.
He's dead.
Okay, dummy.
He's dead.
All right. Can I move to favorite lines?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to read. I mean, there's really only one line in this movie. I have a couple of small fun ones, but I like it enough that I'm going to read it. The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of your life, your memories, your attachments. They burn them all away, but they're not punishing you. They're freeing your soul. So the way he sees it, if you're frightened of dying and you're holding on, you'll see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels, freeing you from the earth. It's just a matter of how you look at it. That's all. So don't worry.
So, that quote is actually... Have you guys ever heard of Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now?
Yep.
So his real name isn't Eckhart Tolle. He actually... there's a Christian mystic called Meister Eckhart, where he took his name from, and that quote is actually from him.
I like that.
There you go. Yeah.
Even just reading it, I found it really, really fascinating. And just the idea that there's all these demons around him and he sees them as demons, but if you just accept
Yeah, it's about
that you're dead, then all of a sudden they're angels. Fascinating concept.
Yeah,
fascinating.
It's the struggle between resisting and accepting death, right?
And even more so,
Still
I
pretty
find
scary
it's,
though.
yeah. It's to
But
me,
it doesn't have to be.
it's
It
not
doesn't
even
have to
about.
be.
It's not even so much about death to me. It's just a matter of perception, how people perceive their lives, and the good and the bad. Like the same thing can happen to you, to me. How we take it is totally different. It could ruin me, and it could make you stronger. It's just all
Guys,
perception.
I mean, I'm going through this cancer thing right now, right? And tomorrow I get, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm getting the pathology reports that essentially are, hey, we think you're okay, or oh shit, it's moved on. Your goose is cooked. But through this entire thing, I've had friends and family going, "You're not freaking out." I'm like, "What am I supposed to do? Go play in the traffic, right?" Like, you have to have a level of acceptance of what's happening, because if I just fight it, right, I'll be miserable. So one of my best ways of doing things is I crack jokes about shit, right? Because if you just laugh in the face of death, you kind of have the upper hand, you know.
Yep.
And that's why I like this movie. Like we'll get to remakes in a minute, but okay. Favorite lines: Doctor, you look like a demon, Jacob. Jacob, who says I'm not? That's cool. I like that line. I like that line a lot. I like that line a lot.
I don't think there were a lot of other lines. So you guys want to hear how this movie did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Once I reveal the ranking, you will know. So do you guys think this was successful? I saw it in the theater, for the record. I paid money for this.
I had never heard of it.
I think it was quite successful.
I think, yeah, like dollar-wise, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so according to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, Jacob's Ladder was the 47th highest earning movie at the box office in 1990.
Okay.
Home Alone, isn't that ironic? Home Alone was the leader at the box office in 1990, and this film was beat by Ghost, Dances with Wolves, Look Who's Talking 2 beat this movie. However, it did beat some movies, as in Ernest Goes to Jail and Quigley Down Under. Poor Tom Selleck. Driving Miss Daisy was the best Oscar winner this year, and I said I'd rather watch Jacob's Ladder. So budget for this movie was $25 million. Seems a bit high, but it was $25 million. What are your guesses on the box office?
What year was this again?
1990.
47th highest earning.
Yeah. It was
Out of what?
200 movies. Usually after 200, they stop listing them because.
Oh, okay.
$40 million.
Yeah, I think I'll say 35.
I'm going to say 30.
It's 26. So 25 budget, 26. So,
Wow.
and end of the day, this lost money because, there's all the advertising costs and everything on top of it. Like, you kind of got to, if you double the movie or better, you're successful, but just an extra $1 million on top, it's not even covering costs.
How the hell did they spend $25 million on this?
It's a really good question.
Demon Dick.
Yeah,
They kept shooting the same take.
Tim Robbins?
Yeah.
I don't think he was that big an actor at the time, though. Okay.
Benny Aioli.
Yeah, he's big.
All that Macaulay Culkin money.
That Home Alone money. So 47th at the box office, and it flopped at the box office. What do you guys think critics thought of this and audience?
Okay.
Critics might have liked it, actually. I could see the critics really liking it, but the audience, I don't know, maybe like 70%, but the critics, I'd say maybe like, I don't know, like 80%.
I'm thinking audience like 42, critics like a 72.
Matthew. This is where the editing comes in. Matthew's dramatic pauses.
Sorry.
Just so you know, the post-editing episodes, you sound decisive.
Well, I am decisive, but when I pause, I just don't want to.
Decisive.
I'm making it look like I'm not a dick.
Good luck.
I find this one hard. This one's really hard for me. I'm gonna say, audience 65, critics 75.
Yeah, I think the critics probably could pick up all these little details that some of us struggled with, and the audience was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the audience was like, "I don't get it." Right?
Anthony,
Yeah,
you had the worst score, but you nailed the critics. 72. 72% of critics liked it and 84 of audience. So
Wow.
Matthew,
84 audience. Wow.
Matthew and Clef, you are tied at 22. But Anthony, you get
I always suck at this one.
you get props for nailing the critics.
I mean, that's pretty good.
This score surprised me. It surprised me on both.
That might be the most shocking one I think I've heard so far.
Me too.
That was
Maybe I'm
good.
just retarded.
What was the audience score?
84.
Wow.
That's later I want to hear from you, Olen. What this is beat out for the movies we've seen, because I feel like a lot have been under 84.
Oh, this is beat out a ton, like almost all of them.
Wow.
We've got only a handful of movies in the 90s. Like this is ranked higher than Remo Williams. Okay.
I'd rather watch Remo Williams backwards.
Apples and oranges.
Okay, a little bit of movie trivia for you guys. So first of all, there was no post-production on the effects, so everything is as filmed. So all those crazy faces was just jiggling the camera, jiggling the faces. Yeah, it's really weird.
Freaky effect.
They claim this movie was the inspiration for the Silent Hill video game. I'm not a gamer, but according to the director, Adrian Lin, most of the dialogue in the opening scene between the soldiers was improvised. And Clef, so it says here that this picture was funded by Paramount, but when Adrian refused to adjust the ending, they pulled the plug, and Carolco Pictures stepped in. What did you hear about alternate endings? Because I didn't capture that.
Well, I just read about when they did the endings, when they did the testing for the film was considered to be too long.
Yep.
And it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that.
He cut 20 minutes out of it.
He cut 20 minutes out of it, and that apparently a couple of different endings had been considered, including one where at the end, when he meets that chemist, for example, the chemist gives him the antidote for the ladder. That was one of the alternate endings. He gives him the antidote for the ladder, but then he finds out that the antidote doesn't actually work, and then when he tries to go back to the chemist then gets assassinated and exploded. You know, so they had all this extra bit about that, for example. They had one like where it turns out that actually he actually turned out to have his family, like where it turned out that he had been going back to his family at the end, you know, that his kid was alive, like, you know, very, I don't know. It's weird to me to read about these different endings.
The only other trivia that's interesting, I think, is that this film got Tim Robbins his role in Shawshank. So you called it, Matthew. Like his acting was spot on in this, and that's why he got Shawshank, which is, you know, people say one of the best films ever made.
Yeah, he was really good in this.
Okay, so woke or joke, and I just had the treatment of soldiers during and after the war. I mean, doing this film and then doing First Blood, you get kind of bummed out about, you know, the life of a PTSD soldier seems really, really rough.
Did you plan them to be back to back like this?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
In fact, I didn't know Jacob's Ladder was about the Vietnam War. I know that Jacob's Ladder is referenced a lot amongst people that talk about movies, and I'm just like, I got to find out why.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting. I just was wondering.
Okay, so however you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there were others who liked it more or less than you. And for this movie, there were 137 10-star reviews out of 483 reviews. One reviewer calls it the grandfather of rubber reality and claims it inspired movies like Butterfly Effect, Memento, The Matrix, and Sixth Sense. IBK calls it brilliant, on par with Kubrick, a masterpiece.
I don't know about that.
Nightman says Jacob's Ladder is a masterpiece of psychological terror and truly unforgettable.
Interesting.
Truly.
Yeah. Guy named Ladder says, I've got the need to make everyone see this movie, everyone I know. It will make them all be better people. And I say to Ladder, I don't think it's cool to make people watch this.
I don't think that.
You liked it, though.
I did like it, but I would definitely not force people to watch it.
I think it's crazy that Peter liked it.
I'd force criminals to watch it like with Clockwork Orange with their eyes glued open.
Yeah. And Mustang says, Some people say this movie's hard to understand, but it's pretty straightforward. It's a simple representation of what someone goes through before they die, and I believe quite strongly that it's pretty close.
Yikes.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. Now we hear from people who liked it less. There were only 5 one-star reviews compared to the 137 10-star reviews. So, given the huge difference, I'm having a hard time understanding the box office results, but I guess it's, become more popular in later years. Howlin' Wolf says, I love Blue Velvet and Lost Highway. The difference between a Lynch film and this is that Lynch never takes advantage of the material he's given in order to be weird. Lynn is a director who obviously used this project as a way of indulging himself. Mighty Thor says, I've seen a lot of movies and this is by far the worst one. I can't believe the fact that people like this movie. Nothing happens. Jacob only seems to have a great depression and wandering around with hallucinations and anxiety. I like this one. Ida Slapster says, Jacob's Ladder would have been a lot better had it been written as a nightmare being trapped in a subway with no way to get out. Keep the demon dick. And the last 1-star review says, if you didn't see the ending coming, you weren't paying attention. So I guess he's talking to me.
Yeah,
And me.
he is.
Siskel and Ebert, what do you guys think? Are they going to like this or not?
Yeah. 2 thumbs up.
It's going to be 1 up, 1 down.
You think fart smellers are going to like it, eh? Siskel gave the film a thumbs up, praising its intense psychological drama and Tim Robbins' performance. He appreciated how the film effectively portrayed the protagonist's descent into madness and the surreal, hallucinatory sequences that kept the viewers on edge. Ebert gave the film a thumbs down, feeling the film's hallucinatory style became repetitive and overwhelming. He found the film to be too intense and depressing, making it difficult to watch. Ebert felt that the film's attempt to blur the lines between reality and hallucination was not executed as effectively as it could have been.
See, but I disagree with thumbs down boy in one thing. A movie that is intense and depressing can still be a very good movie. Sometimes
Yes.
a movie that depresses the hell out of you is just a good film and it leaves you feeling, right? So, too intense and depressing. Like, just get over it. Go watch fucking...
But if it's repetitive and if he finds it intense, it's like just getting repeatedly, like, I do understand that it was a litany of disjointedness. The movie was like, it was very jarring. It pulls you in a lot of different ways to take you on this story that ends up being, I guess, there is no conclusion as to whether or not there was a conspiracy that was getting all of his friends killed. There was not really any conclusion to whether or not he really truly died. I don't know that to be true 100%, but
No.
I think that's probably what happened. But
He died.
he died, but did he die?
Yeah, he did.
I agree with Matthew from earlier. Like, we didn't have any reference of him before any of this happened. So then when you're getting all, like, he's got his family and then the girl and these alternate lives, like, I need to have some basis of reference before I get emotionally attached, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so does this movie deserve a remake, prequel, or sequel?
You know what? I actually think it's a great concept with some good bones. If they cleaned it up, if they did it well, it could be it's an okay movie. Like, I'm kind of like, it's an okay movie. I think somebody could do a really good job of a remake of this movie, and I'd like to see that sort of overcome some of the issues that it had.
I agree. I think looking back on it, it was a lot better than in the moment, story-wise. But if we could get a remake, clean it up, trim off 20 to 30 minutes, a good director, I think it would be a great movie.
A prequel or a sequel? No for me, because it's already too confusing, and that prequel or sequel with that existing movie would confuse it even more. I think they have to remake it, and clean it up. Yeah.
I don't know that I'd remake it. I think maybe it would just be like I could see a movie that was inspired by some of the things that they really liked about it, but the story itself seems to me like, tangible to that specific kind of moment for that film, I guess. For me, anyway.
Well,
that's what I think.
I have news for you guys. It was remade in 2019, and
Whoa.
that movie got a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It
So
got
I think-
cooked.
Well,
Just
they
as the
didn't
kids
do a
say.
good job. They didn't do a good job. Right?
It was ripped. It is such a dumpster fire of a movie.
Oh, that's too bad.
Okay, well, this was, again, a fascinating episode. I knew I brought the right people in to discuss this. You guys always dig deeper. I have to ask you, though, is it too old or pure gold?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say 18 karat gold.
Too old for me.
It ain't 24, but I enjoyed it, you know?
Too old.
Clef, did you go already?
Yeah, no, I'll give it gold. I think it was a nice big pan of gold. I liked it.
You know what? I'm going to say gold, and I'm going to say
a little bit of a little bit of fool's gold in that pan of gold, but there was a little bit of
some
gold
debris.
in there, right?
some debris and one demon
A
dick.
couple of rocks. Yeah,
some rock.
One big demon dick. Yeah.
Big demon dick. Yeah, no, I'm going to call it pure gold, and I'm going to say to the listeners out there, if you haven't seen this, if you like movies, this is an interesting one. I think it's worth a watch.
If you're into movies, don't listen to all of us here. Just give it a watch. I think you should give it a try.
Yeah. He is dead though.
Yeah. I wish I knew that before. I would have enjoyed it a lot more, I think.
I am dead, people.
I'm just going to recommend to the listeners, don't watch it when you're sleep deprived, and if you want to have a little substance with it might actually ease the flow of the movie.
If somebody drops some LSD, drop a tab and watch it, write in and tell us how it went.
Oh yeah.
A good dose of edibles.
Somebody should review it on every drug and see which one it goes best with.
Do not watch on cocaine.
That's a new. You can't watch anything on cocaine. That's a great new a podcast idea. Pairing movies with drugs. What pairs best?
Okay, you do this one. You watch this 10 times with 10 different drugs and tell me whether you're alive or dead. Whether you see demon dick everywhere. This was a fun episode. Okay, bye guys. Say goodbye to the audience.
See ya.